3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet, you're busy. Let's do this for July 11th, 2024 for the next hour or so. Let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, people are still confused about Nintendo's M-rated teaser and a Pokemon killer partners up with Sony. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Jason Fanelli, everybody. Jason, how are you doing?
I am great. The first week back after vacation is always a bit of a grind, but I'm getting through it. We're getting there. Got some exciting things coming up. Hitting that Evo next week. Very excited to be doing that.
Sean will be there. Turbo Sean will be there. So definitely,
we will high five.
Yes.
We will high five for sure. Covering some stuff out there. Some pretty exciting things in the pipeline for that. But otherwise, just getting back into the swing of things after a nice week at the beach. How was your vacation? It sounded like it went exactly how you went.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, a week at the beach. We just kind of hung out up north. It was a good time. Mostly really relaxing. I beat Bale the Dread on the Steam Deck. So yeah, it was cool. A lot of fun stuff. It was just great to hang out with people and not do work for a little bit. But yeah, for sure. You're right. The week back though, it's like, okay, how do I do all this? I forgot. But it's all coming back to me now. We're getting into it. I got this will be 2 Game Mess Mornings under my belt again. The thing I'm really worried about is everyone else is out basically next week. So I got to run all the shows next week and make sure nothing catches on fire. But yeah,
oh no,
we'll figure that out. We'll be okay. Right. Yeah, exactly. It's going to be just fine.
Say my name and I'll appear.
Oh yeah,
whatever you need, buddy.
I'll be saying your name. I'll be like staring in the mirror, just be like, oh god, please come.
Well, don't do that. Don't do that.
Jason Fanelli. Yeah, that's how you get him to appear, everybody. How you been otherwise? It's you've been keeping up with games. You got the news is slowed down. So what are you doing these days?
Yeah. On vacation, I decided to finally play more of my most anticipated game of 2024. So now I have 7 hours in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm getting there.
Okay.
At this rate, I will have finished it by the time my kid graduates high school.
Yeah.
But it's a long ass game. But I'm still in the grasslands. I'm still trying to find everything. I'm not reviewing it, so I could obviously. So I'm taking it at my own pace and find everything that I need to find. And I really like it. I did one side quest that I'm already like, is this game setting me up? What's going on here? Like, I'm more intrigued now that I've done this extra time, because at first I was only like 1 or 2 hours in.
Right.
So having this extra time has just made me want to play more. But of course, as soon as I got back, I had 2 games to review now that I can't talk about yet. So I don't know when I'll be getting back into the grasslands of Calm. But yeah, did that. Always, just trying to keep up with as much news as there is. Again, we're in a bit of a lull, but then, Evo hits for the fighting game crowd, and then San Diego Comic-Con is what it's called. Brain fog. Sorry.
We got Gamescom coming, Tokyo Game Show. It'll all pick
Prime.
up.
Yeah. We'll be right back in the mess. Not too long, but we'll enjoy the nice little lull while we can.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also like getting pretty antsy to play Nintendo World Championship NES edition.
Oh yes,
that's 7 days from today, I believe. So
yes, it is. I'm glad I got in. I'm glad I got in before the Giant Bomb crew.
Yes.
Self-destructs from the competition and then fixes itself just in time for Astrobot to come out, and then you'll kill each other again.
Exactly. It is going to be a massacre, and I'm looking forward to it. It's kind of all I'm thinking about. They put out the English version of their overview trailer for that game, and I'm just like watching that this morning. I'm like, yep. There's a party mode. There's an 8-person local party mode. I'm like, well, we'll do that at something eventually. Yeah. So. Yeah, looking forward to it. I hope it pulls off everything it's going for. Me too. Basically the successor to those NES remix games, which I thought were okay. They weren't great, but they were okay. And I'm like, it could be a lot better if it was like just a little bit tighter. And this looks like exactly that. So I'm hopeful.
Should be good.
Right. We should explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you were watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Sony has opened up this weekend's Concord Beta to all PlayStation Plus members. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. Sony has opened its Concord Beta Early Access weekend to all PlayStation Plus members. Previously, only those who pre-ordered the live service shooter were due to get access to this weekend's playtest. However, Sony said on Thursday it's now opening the beta to all members. The Concord Beta Early Access weekend on PS5 and PC will begin tomorrow, Friday, July 12th, at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And then PS5 users can pre-download the Concord Beta starting today, Thursday, July 11th at 10 a.m. And that's Pacific time as well. An open beta will begin next week from Thursday, July 18th through Sunday, July 21st, available to everyone. The beta will have 3 modes, blah, 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 blah. They're doing this because they didn't get enough pre-orders? Is that what you think?
Probably, but also I feel like the previews I was reading about this, the general vibe I was getting was that trailer didn't really do this game justice.
Right,
it's
they want
actually
people to
kind
play
of fun.
it. Yeah.
So they want people to check it out.
Yeah.
And the way that you do that, really should have been all PS Plus members anyway.
Right,
Like,
exactly. This feels like this should have been the way it was done from the beginning, right? And
yeah.
Right. And if they are struggling to get pre-orders, it's like, well, yeah, well, God, we wish people could play it. Well, here you go. This is a good solution. And then next week's open beta is a whole other thing. Obviously, that was always scheduled, so people were going to get a chance to play it. But why wait? Why like, you get more people excited for the open beta by getting more positive word of mouth buzz. And the only way you're really going to be able to accomplish that is if you get a certain a critical mass of people playing right now this morning or this weekend, I should say. And I think they'll probably be able to get that to happen by making this open to everyone in PS Plus. Are you going to check out Concord, Jason Fanelli?
I hope so. I mean, it depends. I don't know what games I'm playing until an hour before I turn the console on. It's just the way that my life works in this present moment. So I would like to get some time in because, again, reading those previews and people being like, well, maybe there's more to this game than we thought. It makes me think, maybe there is something here more than just, this weird Guardians of the Galaxy vibe that you're going for. I'll if I can get an hour or two in, I would really like to do that, but we'll see. I mean, I'm not scheduling my weekend around it, if that makes sense, but I'm also not against the idea of trying it completely if I can make some time for it.
Yeah, we were planning to stream it for UPF tomorrow. And then we were going to talk about our feelings on it on BCR. We're still going to do that, but it was like, he was trying to track down codes, and Sony was being very helpful with that, so it was going to happen. But now it's like, okay, well, I guess anyone could jump in. I suppose, though.
Now it's even easier.
Yeah, I should double check to make sure I do have PlayStation Plus.
Oops.
Yeah, we'll see. I wonder if those codes that they were going to give out, that's like you could then go to one of those sites and choose whether you want it for the PS5 or PC. I bet it's all just PlayStation 5 though, and that's fine. But yeah, so we were going to play this. I'm at a point with Concord where I'm not thinking about it too often, but I'm also not like thinking negative thoughts about it. Yeah, that trailer was whatever. I didn't think much of it, but the previews were like you said. People seem to be like, there's a lot more here than what we saw in that trailer, and people shouldn't judge it by that. But I'm like, at the same time, it's still one of these, multiplayer head-to-head class-based shooters, with hero characters. And I'm, even if you're telling me it's a good one of those, I'm not necessarily in the mood for one of those. So it always had kind of an uphill climb. But the good news is, like, one of these play sessions can change my mind in an instance, right? And I think that's what they're hoping for. I think it's hitting at a decent time. Helldivers 2's players numbers have, they've dropped quite a bit. And I think the sort of slowdown in the schedule, the release schedule, like a lot of people will be finishing Shadow of the Erdtree by now. It feels like the game's hitting at a good time in terms of this beta being able to get some momentum. What do you think Concord's real life, like, ambitions should be?
I think it goes back to something that we've talked about before in my time on Game Mess, and it's just how many people are willing to devote time to a new open-ended live service style game like this. It really depends on whether or not people are, I mean, if they're willing to give it the time and it is worth their time, then yes, it will organically build that fan base like Helldivers 2 did, and sort of, come into its own and become the next big hit. Or even if it's like a little, I don't want to say like super fantastic, because I don't think any game should be shooting for that right now. I think you want to have that ambition, but also thinking that you're going to go from 0 to 50 million users just through one beta is a little weird too. You have to. I think this needs to be a slow and steady climb for the first beta with PS Plus, then the open beta, then whenever they're launching, and you slowly get more people into the game, make sure your servers are stable, and you just build the organic fan base from there. If they do that, and the gameplay is, as people are saying, more fun than that trailer lets on, then yeah, I mean, I like to be optimistic about all these games. I like to think that there's an audience out there for all of them, but the jury is still out. We don't know. I don't really have a concrete read on it yet. I guess maybe if I get time to play it, I'll be able to get one. But right now, there's just too many questions. I'm not really sure.
I think my most optimistic hope for a game like this would be like, hey, you have a price, like you're $40. Just, sell a few. You could probably sell 1 million copies in like a really good scenario, maybe even 2-3 million copies if you really catch on with an audience. And then clearly it's like, okay. And then Helldivers 2 is, I think, like the ceiling for something like this. So that was 10 million copies very fast. It's probably not going to do that. But if you can sell a few million copies to make some of your budget back, and then all of that slowly transitions into people spending money in the game going forward, and you could sustain that with, I don't know, 10,000 monthly active users or something, like 10,000 daily active users, I should probably say. It's okay. Yeah, I think that is a game that can justify itself and keep a team going, and then be there for people who want to check in on it. There is definitely that model for that. Not everything's going to be Fortnite. Like, of course we know that. So that should that even be the goal? I don't think it is. There is a space, a pocket of success well before that you could try to hone in on. And I think this game should have a decent chance of getting there. Although a lot of it will just come down to how sticky is it? How much do people people might enjoy playing it, but are they going to want to come back to it over and over? Right. And that is such a tough thing to pull off these days.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, let's move ahead here. From Software job listing suggested new Armored Core content is in development. This is from Kyle Knight at DualShockers. A new job listing on From Software's official recruitment page has been spotted by some eagle-eyed Armored Core fans, leading to speculation that that either a DLC expansion or a brand new title is in development at the studio. Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon is now approaching its 1-year anniversary next month, but there has been no official word from Software on a potential DLC since its release. But with that being said, a data miner did uncover some potential in-game files that point towards a DLC being in the works. A data miner on Twitter, known as Zuli, discovered the following in-game files that IGN posted about. Parts have been deactivated, or DLC parts have been deactivated, and it's got a number before it, and then another number, DLC emblems have been deactivated. These are the things that they discovered. Another number, and then DLC AC data has been deactivated, and then another number, change in DLC ownership status has altered AC assembly. The data miner did note that these files could be in reference to the game's pre-order bonuses, but also said, since it's only unlocking equipment early instead of providing unique parts, I'm not sure you can actually trigger these messages from it. With there already being speculation that a DLC for Armored Core 6 is in the works, fans now believe that further evidence has been discovered in the form of a job listing. Over on the From Software website, a new recruitment listing states that the studio is currently searching for a character modeler. While this might not exactly seem out of the ordinary, one of the responsibilities listed for the role states that the candidate will be modeling and texturing characters or robots. The key word in that sentence is robots, of course. So Armored Core 6 is one of my favorites in recent history. I think about that game a lot. I kind of want to replay it. I only got one ending. There's a couple endings that you can get to and kind of get a true ending if you want. I would love a reason to go back and play more Armored Core 6, and if they want to make more content for it, I would be happy. Also, I think part of me is like, From Software seems like they're in a place where they want to be making more Armored Core 6 content. They're going to do it regardless of sort of like, oh, well, if we spent that time working on something that had the Souls name on it, we'd make a lot more money. It's like, I don't think From Software's thinking that way right now, and that they have the sort of privilege to not be thinking that way, and it seems like they're taking advantage of it. Eventually, maybe one day they will get back to a situation where it's like, no, we got to work on the thing that 100% will have the biggest return on investment. Not that Armored Core 6 was a flop. I think it did several million copies, might have been like 5 million copies or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really, really good. But compared to what I think Bloodborne was like the lowest selling like Soulsborne game, and that was 7 million copies. So I'm hopeful that this is all kind of pan out how these people are starting to suggest it, where it's like, hey, no, there's DLC in the works and it's coming and it's going to be part of this big push to kind of get Armored Core 6 back in the headlines. I'm hopeful. Do you read any of this like that, or does this feel like maybe some reaching?
I see the argument about the pre-order bonuses, about how it's just maybe deactivating those things. I don't know if they're going to put them for sale or whatever, however that'll work. But the idea of successful game from Software getting DLC is not that far-fetched.
Nope. They've done DLC for just about every game.
Right, and they've done one DLC for all of their games. Every single game that I can think of, they've come out. The main game has come out. There's been one DLC expansion, and then they move on to the next project. That's what Dark Souls did. That's what Elden Ring did. I would expect that if Armored Core 6 sold enough for them, they'll do the same thing. And as you said, 5 million, that's what it is. Nothing to sneeze at.
No.
So more DLC for Armored Core, because I also don't think they were expecting Armored Core to sell as well as the Souls franchise does.
Definitely not.
That was a a pipe dream hope, but I don't think it was their actual expectation. I think if it is 5 million, if our memory does serve us correctly, that's exactly where it should have been.
Yep.
And so I don't think that there is any reason to think that there's not DLC coming. It's just a matter of when and what that'll entail and what ending will be canon, if it's after the ending, or how it'll fit into the overall story. And I think these folks are onto something here. It's just a matter of when we'll find out. Could be Gamescom, because that'll be almost a year since it came out. Could be a little bit later on. Maybe it's a Game Awards thing. Who knows? But I don't think it's a far-fetched to say for Armored Core 6 is going to get some sort of follow-up.
I agree. And people point out in the chat, isn't it weird to be hiring for the DLC this long after? And it's like, maybe, I don't know. It's really hard to say sometimes. We see these sorts of job listings constantly, and it's like, man, shouldn't they have already had a person doing this job for this game that's been in the works for this long? And I think the answer is game development is more mysterious than we ever let on, and maybe it's not as close as we're thinking, or maybe the position as it's described is not doing exactly what we're all imagining, and maybe it is much more like, yeah, you need to have artistic ability and come in and help with the modeling for these characters, but actually no, we just need someone to make sure like the rigging is going to work for this very final moment or this final position in the development cycle. So you're just going to come in and clean things up. Who knows? We don't know. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm hopeful. Armored Core 7 seems like something that probably actually will happen one day. And that is maybe the most encouraging thing here about all this, because boy, I am all aboard Armored Core going forward.
Cool.
All right, Palworld Dev and Sony are teaming up. This is from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot. Palworld developer Pocket Pair has announced a new company called Palworld Entertainment Incorporated, a joint venture with Sony Music Entertainment to, quote, expand and develop new businesses related to the popular Pokemon with Guns game. In a press release, the companies said the aim of the joint venture is to expand the commercial business endeavors of Palworld, including merchandising efforts. Pocket Pair also announced that Palworld merchandise will be sold through the Aniplex online store, with a product lineup to be announced later. The merch will debut and be sold for the first time at Pocket Pair's booth at Billy World 2024 event this weekend in Shanghai, China. Some are saying Palworld Entertainment may be similar to the Pokemon Company. That's kind of what it sounds like, which is the overarching parent company of the Pokemon series that handles its major franchise extensions from merchandise to movies. And that is a joint venture between Nintendo, Creatures Inc., and what is the developer of Game Freak? Yes. Game Freak. Yes. So this is a little bit strange out of the gate, because Palworld's still not out on PlayStation. Now, a big part of that is I think the game is still in early access, And while PS5 or PlayStation 4 maybe have had a couple of early access games before, they don't have a system open so that just any early access game can come out to their platform.
Right.
Once it goes 1.0, probably will come to the PlayStation platform. So yeah, and not probably, it's 100% going to do that. In the meantime, though, Sony's like, hey, we got our Pokemon killer. Let's get in on this business. Do you think that this is a move that indicates Palworld is here to stay? Because I don't know. I get the sense that it was a little bit more of a flash in a pan than all this, but maybe I'm wrong. I haven't been paying attention. How do you feel about it?
I mean, 25 million players, even if that many players are not still in the game, is nothing to sneeze at.
You're right. You just can't ignore that.
Right. And maybe some of those people were in there for the memes, right? Just Pokemon with guns. And then
sure.
they dipped out once they realized it wasn't their thing. But I almost want to say it's, and this is no disrespect to them, but it sounds a little hasty.
Yeah.
Right. Like it sounds like they're getting to the Pokemon company part before I mean, you've had one game.
Right.
And again, I'm not trying to diminish what they did. It was one of the biggest stories of the beginning of the year. It's a success story that other indie developers should try to emulate. Maybe not exactly, but the kind of success that indie developers want. But I feel like immediately getting into merchandise and stuff like this they may be putting the cart before the horse a little bit. I mean, if you want to talk about a potential parallel as far as the merchandising is concerned, you can look at like Five Nights at Freddy's, right? That was an indie hit that all of a sudden was in every GameStop with figurines and pops and stuffed animals and all this other stuff. But the difference there is I think it took 2 or 3 games, maybe even 4. But then again, I guess that's not that's not a very good allegory, because that guy released games like once a month, it seemed like at one point. He was just churning those things out. But eventually, like, it took a little more time for that merch to finally hit, I feel like. And I would hate for Palworld to, or Pocket Pair to get into this, create this company, make all this merch, and then just have it sit.
Yeah.
Do I think there's an audience? Yes. Do I think they may be overestimating that audience, or, thinking bigger than they should be at this present time? Also, yes. Could I be wrong? And all of a sudden, every Palworld piece of merch sells out, and there's a Palworld 2 with 50 million players, and I have a huge amount of egg on my face? It could happen.
Definitely.
But if I'm looking at this, if I could look at this right now, I'm thinking, I hope that they aren't getting too big for their britches too quickly, right? That it's the foundation's there.
Yes.
But I don't know. Maybe this is just me not being as into the world of Palworld as other people are. Maybe I'm just a little bit outside the fringes here, outside looking in. But from my perspective, it just seems soon.
Yeah, it does. It does seem soon. I get like both sides why they are rushing it, right? For Pocket Pair, get the money while the getting is good. Like right now is the time to strike if you can make it happen. For Sony Music, again, the sort of entertainment side of this, and this is not like new for Sony Music. They've teamed up with some like people in the gaming space before to like do merchandise and stuff. For them, it's like, this is the first thing that looks like it has a chance of threatening Pokemon ever in the history of the world, that we have a chance to like really get in on. Of course, I mean, Digimon was there for a while at the early days. I know, but Digimon still exists. Everybody, please don't yell at me, Digimon fans. I can't have the Digimon fans yelling at me again. Not like last time. But this is the first one where like Sony's like, hey, we could get in on the ground floor here and be ready to go. If we like, it would suck to miss this bus, is what I think Sony was thinking. So I get the motivation from both sides to make this a thing. Whether I believe it will be something we ever think about in 5 years, I'm a little bit iffy on that, but it's not impossible, which is why it's probably worth it to both companies to be like, hey, listen, in the best case scenario, we are in a situation where a new generation of people grow up and don't think about Pokemon all that much, or they think about Palworld as much as they're thinking about Pokemon, because things are changing. We talked about Zenless Zone Zero on some of the podcasts earlier this week, and I just keep thinking about how these games are coming from completely out of the a standard way that we imagine games coming from these certain studios and these certain places. And it's like nothing is holding these games back. And people are jumping on them in the millions. These games make $1 billion a year. So there is clearly a world in which people are like, nope, this game has the aesthetic I like. It has the gameplay I like. It's free and I can just play it anywhere. In Palworld's not necessarily checking all those boxes, but it has a similarity to those kinds of things. And there is a world that we could be in where that is the normal way of playing games, as opposed to going to Nintendo's platform and buying Nintendo's game. That feels kind of limited, maybe, in the world that we're entering right now. So, sure. The table is set. Whether or not this delivers on it, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, plenty of more headlines to get into, including people concerned about that Once Human game, NES World Championship, data mines, and all more. All right, we are back into it. Let's jump right back into it with Once Human NetEase launcher is concerning players, but dev tries to put them at ease. This is from George Yang at GameSpot. Once Human developer NetEase has addressed player concerns about the game's privacy policy through the NetEase launcher. Its statement on the launcher came after players left reviews on Steam about having ID data taken from them. NetEase took to Steam to respond with a statement saying, Once Human takes users' data privacy very seriously. We would only use personal data if we have legitimate legal basis, such as providing requests to services or acting with your express consent. NetEase continued, we will only use your data lawfully and reasonably and in accordance with local legal compliance requirements, while practicing the data privacy principles such as data minimization, purpose limitation, and transparency. We appreciate and welcome any and all feedback given by our players to help us improve. So what happened here, Jason, is that in the privacy policy, there was a reference to, I think it was government ID or something like that. And people, I think, made a leap where they're like, is this like they're going to automatically associate my player character, my player account with my real world government ID, and then they're going to like report my data to their government or something like that. And really what was happening here is people saw government ID and stopped reading. And apparently the rest of the phrase was, and we're only doing this because there's some countries in the world that require us to check a player's government ID to make sure they're a certain age. And we're only doing this in those countries. So it was always overblown, but surprised people like see something from some of these Asian countries, and they immediately leap to the worst case scenario. This has happened over and over again, and it's racism usually. It usually is what that is. And I don't blame people for being somewhat skeptical of some of these companies. Be skeptical of every company for sure. That's right. But this is just not out of the ordinary. This is a normal situation, right?
Yeah, I mean, they have to comply with local governments just as much as they have to comply with, corporate laws. You see, with U.S. players, we always think U.S. government standards and stuff like that. We kind of put ourselves in our little bubble. And yeah, there's a little bit of ethnocentric thing to it. So if some countries, if they have to make sure you're the right age, that's all this is. I understand not trusting a company, right? Like the corporation side of it, with the Xbox news yesterday. There's a lot not to trust when it comes to big corporations like NetEase. But this one I think is built in. There's some built-in, racism, as you said, where people think Asian company, government ID, spying, and then all of a sudden they go down the rabbit hole. And I think that, yeah, I agree with you. This is where a lot of this was overblown by that. Do I think people being concerned about their privacy is normal? Yes. Do I think people took this a little over the top because of the source, like you said? Yes, I think that as well. I will say, though, for me, this is why if I have a choice to play a game on console, I do it, because I don't like dealing with any of these launchers. Riot, Activision, none of them. Just let me download a game to my console and play it there. That's just how I deal with my thing too. But yeah, I mean, it's an unfortunate situation just based on the language that they used. They did come out and address it. It's not like they just left people hanging, which is always a good thing. And hopefully maybe the backlash from this will die down just a bit and people can get back to deciding whether they like the game or not, as opposed to the language in the legal and compliance stuff before they even start.
Yep. We've seen this before. There have been several games specifically from China that have
Yep.
Had these scaremongering effects around them, very similar. And it always feels like like that MSG stuff, where it's like the scaremongering around MSG. It's like, oh, this is the special salt that's going to kill you, and it's like, oh, okay, no, you just don't care. You're just afraid of Chinese people for some reason. And so, like, yeah, I'm always like a little bit frustrated by when these things happen. But again, like, people are right to be skeptical of their own personal security and privacy and stuff like that. So if this stuff bothers you, you got a lot of accounts to cancel probably, because everyone's tracking you and they're keeping your data across the board. And I don't necessarily know that a private corporation is any better than a foreign government, personally. Nope. But that's how I feel about it.
I agree with you.
All right, NES World Championships developer has been revealed via a data mine. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. The developer behind Nintendo's upcoming Nintendo World Championships NES Edition has been revealed, and as uncovered by data miner Yakumono, files for the game's Nintendo eShop preload confirm that Nintendo created the game in collaboration with Indie Zero. Indie Zero is a small Tokyo-based studio which has collaborated with Nintendo frequently in the past, notably on the NES Remix games, as well as Big Brain Academy and Dr. Kawashima's Brain Training for Nintendo Switch. Yakumono also claims that Nintendo World Championships uses the same emulation software as Switch Online and the NES Mini, rather than the older Wii U software. Nintendo has recently adopted a secretive approach to the developers behind its video game collaborations, frequently declining to confirm the identity of the game creators until after release. Recently, the company was secretive about the developer behind Princess Peach Showtime, declining to confirm if Goodfield was working on it when asked. It was similarly secretive about the developer of Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, and it's currently unclear who's working on the new Mario and Luigi game. Nintendo has been asked about this, and what they'll say is like, "Hey, you'll be able to find out once the game is out and the credits roll." It's like, why? Just tell us. Why are you so weird, Nintendo? But yeah, okay, yeah. I think this is what people are expecting. The NES Remix team working on this game as well. That makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I don't get why Nintendo is like this, because now we know, and what has changed? Nothing. This is what we assumed was true. Right. Yeah. And again, I know there's some people that speculate Nintendo does this to keep these studios out of the muck, but I think it also, and I think that is a very, like I think I've said this before, a very generous reading, because what this can also do is keep the profile of these studios down so that they aren't worth as much on an open market if someone were to, say, acquire them. It's like, oh yeah, I recognize that name. That's the team that does this, and this is for Nintendo. Every time Nintendo minimizes that, or there's fewer references to these studios made publicly by Nintendo on the record, that does have a monetary effect on the value of these companies. Being mentioned by Nintendo would be a very beneficial thing, saying, yeah, that's a studio we work with, and they're great, and they never say anything like that. And I think it is with the idea of they have this relationship with these companies and they want to keep things on an even keel and not stir it up, so that maybe the next time they go back, these companies feel like they can renegotiate and get better terms. That I think that's cynical, but I think that's what's happening here. What do you think?
Well, I think also, too, by keeping the profile low, it allows them to keep them close to their chest, right? These are all independent, contracted studios that have been working on these games for a very, very long time. And while you're talking about, them not wanting these companies to get acquired by other places, I also think, too, that it allows them to negotiate the next game without anybody trying to step in and say, no, we want them for this. And there also might be, too, Nintendo is very, mindful of corporate secrets, right? They want to keep their stuff in-house. They don't want anything leaking or getting out. So by working with these independent companies for so long, they probably have a treasure trove of maybe source documents or other sort of non-giga leaked Nintendo things that they can, by not putting their name out there, say a company does acquire them, they also acquire all that stuff. So in one sense, yes, the cynical part says it keeps the price low for when they contract these guys and they keep the profits up based on the games that they're making. But there's also probably some corporate secret protection as well. All of it's above my pay grade. I don't understand any of it. And I think that has more to do with it than just keeping them out of the muck, as you said. There might be a little bit of that, but I think it's more about keeping their strategic partners, especially the independent ones, as close to in-house as they can without them getting poached either through acquisition or through signing a contract to do something else.
Right. I'm trying to think. It was Next Level, Luigi's Mansion 3 developer that was after Luigi's Mansion 3. And this was like in the heart of when everyone was getting acquired. Nintendo was like, oh yeah, we're buying that studio. And that very much felt like the studio having a lot of leverage and being like, hey, we can get a lot more from our next game. We can go work with anyone else. We can go make our own game. And Nintendo's like, no, actually, you're worth it. We'll pay what we need to pay. And it was like a decent chunk of change. It was not like nothing. It wasn't like billions of dollars. But I think it was a couple $100 million, I thought, but maybe I'm misremembering.
Sounds right. I can bring that up while we're talking.
Yeah.
But yeah, they definitely, I'm with you on that. They saw the value of what that team was doing. Let's see, January 2021, Next Level Games. Have they ever announced how much that was for?
Maybe they didn't say how much it was. That could make sense as well.
This article does not have a number.
That happens pretty frequently too with these acquisitions. They don't actually say. Either way, it seems like it was for a decent chunk of change.
For sure. Yeah. And
Luigi's Mansion 3 is a 16 million selling game or something like that, or approaching that much. So yeah, they were probably able to command quite a pretty penny. I think that for Nintendo, they are just, it's not important to them that people know who make the game, and then it is important for them to do all the things that we said, like you said, make sure that the next deal is not as high as it could be, and to not have these teams be poached again, as we said. All right, let's keep moving here. Nintendo releases creepy teaser trailer for mystery M-rated Switch game. We talked about this yesterday, but just kind of wanted to update people on it. Let's go over the details again. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. Nintendo has released a teaser trailer for what appears to be a mystery horror game. On Wednesday, the company's social media channels published links to a trailer titled Emio. It's titled Smiling Man in Japanese, Gematsu reports. The trailer, which is viewable below, opens with a Nintendo Switch logo and carries an M rating from the U.S. Entertainment Software Ratings Board and an 18 rating from European classification body PEGI. The trailer description and Nintendo's social media post also include the hashtag #WhoIsEmio. The Japanese video description contains a link to a teaser website too. Last month, the platform holder held a Nintendo Direct presentation mainly focused on Switch games set for release in the second half of 2024. The event was used to announce The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, a new 2D adventure starring Princess Zelda coming in September, and Mario Luigi Brothership, an island-hopping RPG adventure releasing in November. Email was not at that event, though, so that's why people are like, well, so what is this? A couple other things. People were speculating maybe this is the Bloober Team game that Bloober mentioned previously at some point they were going to partner up with Nintendo. I think other people are now saying that doesn't sound right because this game would be maybe a bit too early to be that. Mm-hmm. And I think there were some other people who are finding other ways to debunk that theory. So then the question is, once again, who's making this game? What is it? Is Nintendo developing an M-rated horror game for the Switch? Is that, because that's what it seems like is happening here. How are you reading all this?
It's Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah, let's go.
it's the next trailer for Metroid Prime 4. It's
you take off the bag and it's Ridley under there.
No, I don't have. I remember seeing. I vividly remember. I mean, it was yesterday. So, but in this day and age, you never know. But I opened this thing up. My first reaction was, "The fuck is going on here?
Yeah,
this is so not Nintendo. It's so just some dude standing there and he's smiling. Then all of a sudden he's not smiling. He's super creepy. Got this Ring vibe to it. I don't know. Or could they be going mature horror in-house? Mm-hmm. What studio would do that? Is this a new? I have so many questions, but that's a good thing. I think. I feel like with Nintendo, you get we talked about the Nintendo Direct. You got all this stuff, and for the most part, it was pop and colorful and happy-go-lucky. There might have been a few mature games in there that I'm forgetting about, but like Mario Party and Marvel vs. Capcom collection. Sorry, Sean, you're crying again. But hey, I hear you. I cried too. But it on all this other like whimsical stuff, and then all of a sudden now we have this Uncle Howdy presentation on Nintendo's YouTube channel for 15 seconds, and I'm like, all right. But now what? Like, are you just going to give us some smiling man every day, every week until like Tokyo Game Show or whatever your next Nintendo Direct is? Are you doing a September Nintendo Direct again like you always are? Are we 2 months away from this? What are you doing? What's with the smiling guy? I just have more questions than answers, which I guess for this genre, if it's a horror game, mystery horror game, that is the way you ought to market it. More questions than answers. But an answer or two would be nice. Like, what is this, and what are we going to be doing? I wonder too if remind me of the name. They remade them for the Switch a couple of years ago. They were old Nintendo investigation games.
Yeah, Famicom
Nintendo Detective series.
Yeah, Famicom Detective Club, I think is what it was. Yes.
I wonder if that game sold enough to get its own.
Yeah, like I wonder if it's like maybe this is it could be a follow up to something like that. Definitely.
Yeah, and then they just they put that name on it, or they just adapted it into a mature horror game. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. Now you're chasing out a serial killer. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's the only logical, like, based on Nintendo's internal IP, without Mario taking a huge heel turn. I don't like that's the only thing I can think of that would fit into that, right? Unless other franchises I'm forgetting. Is this Devil World? Are we going to Devil World? Like, I don't know. I don't know what this is.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, it's a Nintendo thing, so there's already a lot of fan art. Like, there's the amiibo here that someone made, and the Emio showing up in Smash Ultimate, like everyone is here, and Mario and Emio. Wait, who is he, and where's Luigi? Yeah, like there's a lot of good stuff here where people are like paying a lot of attention, which suggests to me it's like, well, I bet there's a lot of people who are like in the scene, like looking into what is this? Can we find anything? Can we data mine something about this? Can we go look on the back end of Nintendo's websites and see what we can uncover about it? And we haven't heard anything. So
no,
yeah, at the very least, Nintendo seems like they know how to tease things right now, which is surprising and cool.
How funny would it be if they were like baiting the data miners? The data miners go in and they find like this one, they think it's just like a jump scare.
Yeah.
Just a total like, gotcha. And then it's still a game, but there's just nothing to data mine. That would be hysterical. But yeah. Hey, it's nice to see some ARG, it's not an ARG, but there's some weird teasing stuff from a company that doesn't normally do it. And maybe they realize this is fun. They could do it again later on with something else. Small part of me hopes it's Miyamoto under the mask. That would just be funny.
Oh, that'd be great. Yes, just takes off. There he is. And what does he announce? The Donkey Kong ride? Yeah, that's all. Yeah, here I am. I don't know why we did this, but I just want to talk to you about Donkey Kong. All right. I guess okay. When do you think we find out what Emio is? Like, do you have any idea?
I would, if I had to put. I would normally say Tokyo Game Show, but that's too far away.
Right. I don't think we're waiting months. Like, this is not a Kojima, like, oh, yeah, we're going to have mysteries all throughout the whole marketing preview time frame of this game's release, so that there's months and months and months of stuff to go over. I think in a couple of weeks, we're going to know what this is, right? Yeah,
maybe one more tease. It was Tuesday, right? This came out. So maybe another tease next Tuesday, and then the Tuesday after that because Nintendo has no problem with just randomly dropping details on a brand new announcement out of the blue either. Like, that's how the NES World Championships were announced. We didn't know about it, and then we did. So maybe that's what this is going to be.
Yep. I am curious. I'm very curious. Yeah. I will want to see what this is. At the same time, I'm not expecting it to be like some amazing thing. It's probably going to be some tiny little project that they're going to have fun with, and I'm fine with that as well.
Hotel Dusk 3, let's go.
Right, yeah, Hotel Dusk, why not? All right, BioWare wants fans to discover if Dragon Age the Veilguard shows HOG. This is from Kenneth Shepard at Kotaku. We already know Dragon Age the Veilguard will have romance and spicy scenes. That's par for the course with a BioWare RPG in a post-Mass Effect world. But sounds like the upcoming game in the Beloved Fantasy series isn't restricting nudity to when protagonist Rook and their chosen partner are getting it on. What's still unclear is if it will show everything this time around, but BioWare isn't shutting down the possibility. Game Informer published an article as part of its ongoing July cover story confirming there was topless nudity in the Veilguard's character creator in a first for the franchise. From a practical standpoint, this is helpful during the character creation process if you want your Rook's body to look a certain way. It's easier to do when their shirt is off. Game Informer asked if there would be nudity elsewhere in the game, to which the director Corin Bush responded, "This is a mature RPG." As for whether or not Dragon Age the Veilguard will follow Baldur's Gate 3's example and include genitalia, BioWare apparently told Game Informer the studio wants fans to discover that for themselves. That isn't a resounding yes, but it's a weirdly evasive answer if it's a no. Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't suggest there's going to be hog and then not deliver, right?
Right. Somebody heard us talking about wieners. Sorry. So,
there's a puppy. Hello, puppy. That's right.
There we go.
That's there's the wiener, everybody.
There's the wiener. There it is. There's the wiener on Game S Mornings. No, they can't. They can't say this because then the let's say conservative news cycle will get a hold of it, and all of a sudden it'll be there. It'll be Mass Effect 1 all over again, and we'll have poor Jeff Keighley sitting there on Fox News getting berated by someone. Oh God! If you're not old enough to remember that, go look that up. What a mess that was. But yeah, they can't say it, and if they have it, good for you.
Yes.
People who want that, good for you. I adapt a joke from John Oliver when people ask me what my background is. When it comes to sexuality and race and ethnicity, I am the equivalent of a white bread sandwich where the middle of it is more white bread. So I've had enough female, parts in my game to last a lifetime. It's your turn to eat.
It's your turn to eat.
Get what you want. And if it's there, great. If not,
step up to the table, step up the counter. We're serving everybody now.
Manja. But yeah, I mean, Baldur's Gate did it. Why wouldn't Dragon Age do it? Just
right.
Ezekiel.
I get some Dave Langs feasted in chat, please. Let's go.
Oh God. What? Yeah, there it is. Okay, yeah. So there's a screenshot of Jeff Keighley getting roasted by someone who was then, I believe, completely delegitimized, which was pretty fun.
Oh yeah.
But anyhow, now that to get this train back on track, yeah, go for it. The show all the hog you want. Let the hog fans eat.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. I mean, I think they probably are feeling a little bit more encouraged after Baldur's Gate 3. Do you want is there a chance that hog wasn't in the game and then Baldur's Gate 3 came out and they're like, well, now we gotta have hog?
Could you imagine the concept artist being like, look, I just played Baldur's Gate 3. Here's something we have to add. And then just sharing in Slack, just a screenshot of zoomed in.
Listen, I got something. I got to ask you something. I can't put it in Slack because I don't want to get called by HR. But should we have wieners in our game?
Jeff, what have you done to me? But yeah, I don't even know where to go with this. If Baldur's Gate did it, that's what they should do too. I keep saying the same thing because now all I can think of is the word hog. It just permeated into my brain. Hog.
This is not this is Kenneth Shepard's fault. This is all your fault, Ken.
Yeah, it's your fault, Mr. Shepard, you BioWare plant.
That's definitely, absolutely. They hosted a Mass Effect podcast for a long time.
But no. I mean, it's people. This is what people. We watch Game of Thrones, that had it. We watched stuff like that. It's just becoming more present. I mean, I don't kill me for this, chat, but Witcher 3 is one of my blind spots. Was it in there? I don't even know.
There was definitely nudity. I don't know if Dick and Balls was in there, but I mean, he definitely did the splay and the hot tub thing.
Exactly. So yeah. So I feel like in a part of being more inclusive in video games is catering to everyone's preferences, and some people prefer, because they're, you know, a woman who is hetero, or a female who is gay, or a they them who is pan, or whatever it is, they want to see some hog. So let them see some hog. I don't know how else to put it.
And I think that's like the difference between, like, we're on this like curve of, like, back in the day it was just nonstop fan service for young men in games, and it was like we would criticize that, and what that sounded like was no sex in games is what that sounded like. And some people meant that, but most people were like, no, look, chill, we're not saying that. We just, like, why is it always for the same, like, set of gazing eyes? Why is it always from this one perspective? Like, could you just have a little bit more diversity and think about that? And what that was really saying was, we want hog in the game as well.
Listen, developers, ask not what hog in games can do for you. Ask what you can do for hog in video games.
Hog 2020, 2024. There it is.
Hog 22. Someone in chat was like, are we talking about hidden object games?
Yeah, hoggies. You know, I'm always playing those hoggies. Oh boy! All right, let's hit this last one.
Tua, oh my god!
Hog Tua, there it is. We got there, everybody. Smash Brothers style game in the League of Legends series has been canceled, according to a report. This is from George Yang at GameSpot. Riot Games reportedly shut down a Super Smash Brothers Melee style game set in the League of Legends universe, codenamed Pool Party. According to reader Grubb, a newsletter by former launcher editor Mikhail Klimatov, Pool Party was canceled due to a reassessment of consumer interest in a Super Smash Bros. Competitor. Riot executives were reportedly worried about Multiverses, the Smash Bros. Competitor that featured Warner Bros. Characters, and how it didn't seem nearly as successful. And yeah, well, nothing's going to be nearly as successful as Smash Brothers.
Right. That's, yeah.
My understanding for Multiverses was, when it went away that first time, it was dwindling, but then it came back, and I thought it was doing well again, but I guess I haven't been paying attention either. That said, I wonder if Riot is like, no, we need to have something that is massive to justify it. I bet they are like that. Like, if it's not something that can make $100 million a year in microtransactions, it's not worth our time. That said, are you gonna miss this, or was this what you were craving from your League of Legends gaming?
I fully agree with the fact that if Riot doesn't make Riot $100 million, they're not going to do it. And Riot Forge says hello. I loved the idea that they were branching out the League of Legends universe into all those smaller, like, adventure games, Mage Seeker and Ruin King. I loved that idea, and then they crushed my dreams. I thought it was awesome. But in the same vein, I get why they would have been spooked by Multiverse's weird pull away and then come back later. The game is good now. I follow it. They just had their first, like, Mortal Kombat Combat Cast style live stream earlier this week, where they went through Agent Smith, who's being added to the game soon, if he's not already there in early access, I think. They hit a couple little Easter eggs in the back for season 2. I saw that Pennywise doll player first. I saw it. But yeah, it was like, yeah. And as Sean's putting in the chat, Multiverses went away. Rumor is that the team Player First Games was 12 people, and they just couldn't keep up. So they had to build their team up to get where it is. And I do enjoy it since I'm back. I do. I think it's a good game. But at the same time, if Riot's in the process of feeling out the process of making a platform fighter, and Multiverses, which was probably the highest profile Smash clone of the ones that came out. Like, Nick All-Star Brawl does exist, and the sequel is better, but the first one was not very good. Not launching with voices is, I'll never understand that decision.
Yes.
Weird. And then there's other ones that are around too, like Brawlhalla's been around for a while, and Rivals of Aether, if you really want to get into it. No offense to them, that's a great game. But, like, they probably saw Multiverses and this weird thing, not knowing what's going on behind the scenes, if that 12-person team rumor is true, and thought, oh crap, maybe this isn't as good of an idea as we think it is, and they pulled out. Do I think they pulled their hog out? Do I think it would have been good? Sorry.
No, this is the bathwater. I got to soak in it.
Yeah. I won't say it again, I promise.
No, do what you got to do.
But no, do I think a League of Legends platform fighter could have worked? Yes, I do, because I think that they have 150, 160 champions now. That's a huge pool to choose from, which is sort of what they're doing. As someone mentioned in chat, they're making 2XKO as well, or Project L as it was called at the time.
Right, the fighting game.
Why would they do both at the same time? And the answer is because you're catering to two different
and you wouldn't,
groups of people.
Yeah, the reality is you wouldn't. If you have one that seems like it's going to work, maybe
and one that doesn't.
Yeah, and one that doesn't. Right, exactly. You're like, well, let's pull the Band-Aid off and let's focus on the one we think is going to work. 2XKO looks great. It does. I like the name. I don't care what anyone says. I think that's a good, fun name to say. 2XKO.
It definitely it separates itself from the rest of the fighting game, and it separates itself from League of Legends. Project L, which, you know, as a code name is good, we know what it's referring to. So if you want to make it its own brand and its own thing and just have those characters in it, because someone who might like fighting games and barely knows anything about League of Legends is going to see 2v2 fighting, a genre that until a recent Nintendo Direct was, you know, barren, and be like, oh man, I love this. I think it's a cool concept. I think anything that they can do to build out that world that they've been building for over a decade now is a good idea. That's why I loved Riot Forge so much, like I said earlier. And I really kind of would have liked to have seen this platform fighter work, but I get the difference. But I get, you know, having two projects running concurrently, seeing the tumultuous development cycle of the one genre, and then being like, you know what, maybe we just focus everything on the 2v2 fighter, because that seems like it's got a little more momentum behind it. It makes sense. So they went that route, and I think that's actually going to pay off for them. I really do.
I think so as well. Yeah. So no more pool party over there at Riot. Instead, we will just be getting the 2XKO, which I am fine with. All right. Let's get to the poll question. We asked this yesterday on the show. Are you planning to subscribe to Xbox Game Pass going forward? 38% say yes, 62% say no. Of course, that would include people who have never subscribed, have no interest in subscribing. 38% though, hanging on strong. They still think it's worth it. And I think that's where Game Pass is at now, Jason, where it is not, I don't think I'm going to go around saying the best deal in gaming, like I maybe once have. And I don't think I've said that in a while. I do think it is a potential good value to certain people sometimes, and is definitely something you could consider still. I don't think that Microsoft's moves were indicative of they are trying to bury this thing. That is not what they're doing. They are trying to make it make sense for the long term, but that does not mean that what they were indicating is they're not trying to gather new users anymore. Not really. They are. This is like in a maintenance phase of like we got about. Or a plateauing maybe of we have 30 to 35 million subscribers. We are going to keep it at that level for some time. And maybe if we find a way to break through eventually, we will turn things around. But in the meantime, we got to make money from who is paying us now. And that's what this is all about. I don't know. Are you sticking with Game Pass?
Yes, just because I feel like in this line of work, I kind of have to. Right, like I'll keep Game Pass just to be able to keep up with it. And if there's a game that I can't purchase or I'm not reviewing, I'll get it day one. So I'll stick with it for that reason. But yes, I used to tell people who would come to me, like around Christmas time, I get some parents who come to me who know that I've grown up with or went to high school with or whatever, who know that I am in this industry, and they'll ask me, like, my kid's asking for a game system, what should I do? And whenever I get like the teenager who's dabbling for the first time, I always have that Xbox versus PlayStation question. And before, Xbox Game Pass was an easy recommendation because you could just get right in, you get the games on day one. Now it is still enticing.
It's one of your options. Yes.
It's one of your options, but to get the full benefits of it, $20 a month is, you know, another subscription service on top of however many they might already have between Netflix and, you know, all the ones that they're watching, YouTube TV, if they have that. And and as much as I want to recommend the standard one doesn't have the day one. So what's the point?
Right. You can't, like, you can no longer say, oh, you want to play that game? Just go get Game Pass. You have to be like, oh, okay. Oh, you want that? Okay, get Game Pass Ultimate. Make sure you get the top tier. And most people do get Game Pass Ultimate. That is by far the most popular tier. It always was. So most people were doing this. That's why I don't think it's like just going to evaporate off the face of the planet or something like that. But
correct.
It is. They are no longer trying to court that idea of oh, you just want to play the game, go get Game Pass. That the reason they had it in these lower tiers before is because they wanted everyone just to associate every game with Game Pass, or go get Game Pass instead of buying the game. That's what they wanted, because they wanted as many subscribers as possible. And in the last 18 months, as it hasn't grown, they have changed their mind. They've changed their mind. And now they're like, okay, well, the people that want it, let's focus on maximizing the return on them, which means let's get them all into Game Pass Ultimate, and then let's also raise the price of Game Pass Ultimate. And then going forward, if people want like Call of Duty, do we want people finding ways to work around to like get Call of Duty and save money? It's like, no, I think we want people to mostly just buy Call of Duty, and if they're not buying Call of Duty, they better be in a $20 per month Game Pass Ultimate subscription. And it's like, okay, yeah, sure, I get it.
It's cynical, but yeah, that's probably what's going on here. And the timing is very indicative of that too. I think.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like, I want to be able to keep recommending Game Pass to people, but they're making it more difficult.
Yeah, and like people are like, you never thought there would never be a price increase. It's like, no, 100% I knew there'd be a price increase. Of course there would be. I'm not, and like everything goes up in price. Of course it does. But
line has to go up.
But the way the price increases, the way the tiers get moved around, says something. We don't have to pretend that we're dumb. Like, we don't have to be like, oh, the price goes up, so the price goes up. It's like, no, the way that they're doing it says how they feel about this thing. And if you just look at it and you look at what the numbers have been saying for quite some time, and how every industry analyst all says the same thing, we know what's happening here. Game Pass isn't growing, so they're looking for other ways to increase their growth and revenue and the return on investment, which we've heard is they're feeling a lot of pressure to do more of that than they felt in quite some time, because they spent $70 billion on Activision. So
yeah.
We'll see. I'm like, not sure if I'll keep Game Pass Ultimate. I don't use it very often, so I'm kind of thinking I probably will cancel it for some time until I need it again. But
yeah, I mean, that I'm starting to lean that way too. I think a little bit, but it is amazing to me how the $70 billion Activision deal has now become this inflection point.
Yes,
in Xbox's history,
100%.
And it's just fascinating to see how that continues to, branch out and web all these different other decisions that come around it. And I think, as we've talked about before in previous episodes, it's just the attention that it brought to the department.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. The scrutiny from Nadella. Yes.
Yeah. That's basically what all this is.
100%. That's what this is. Yes.
Is it a shot in the foot? I guess we'll find out.
All right. I have a new poll question. We'll get to that in a second. Before we do that, Jason Fanelli, tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, and all that good stuff.
I am at Big Man Fanelli on X. If you want to see some video game stuff from me, and wrestling and kids and more of my dog, that's where my social media presence mostly is. Writing for GameSpot, MMORPG, a couple other websites. If you're at Evo, feel free to high five. Maybe don't yell the name of this website. That might make people a little suspicious, right? In this day and age. Do want to say too, we keep planning these things on big days in my family. Like, there was my parents' anniversary back in November, first day of my show in April. Today is my dad's birthday.
Hey,
so happy birthday, Dad.
Birthday, Daddy Fanelli.
Daddy Pops Fanelli is let me do some quick math here. 63 years old, I believe.
Hell yeah.
He's doing good. I hope. I don't know if he's going to watch this episode, considering the talk 2 segments ago. Who knows? Now I'm being called the
How excited are you for Hog in Dragon Age, Mr. F?
But yeah, so we saw him last week while we were down the shore. We were staying at their place, so we're talking. He's awesome. Like, every year after like Summer Games Fest or whatever, I prepare a YouTube playlist of trailers to show him, because he just has always taken a vested interest in my nerdy bullshit.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, I'll show him magic cards. Hey, look at this. And I don't know if he knows what I'm talking about or cares, but he still does the when I was 6. Oh, that's really cool, man. Just he's just playing along, great. And I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Also, as someone reminds me to go the exact opposite route, today is the 9-year anniversary of the passing of Satoru Iwata. So, props to that guy
always,
right there.
To Iwata for sure.
Yeah, apologies for the massive turn in mood there. But yeah, so that's where you can find me doing all my things. If you're into trading card games like Magic and Pokemon and stuff like that, I do have a fledgling YouTube and TikTok called CG Jawn, JAWN, where I just open packs and talk about the cool things that I'm pulling out of them, stuff like that. But yeah, man, that's what's going on with me. Just writing things and getting paid for it.
Hell yeah.
And you're podcasting and getting paid for it. It's a good life we live sometimes.
Yep, make it happen for sure. All right, new poll question. Are you curious about Nintendo's EMEO game? Yes, no, and what is that? Those are your options. Just kind of wondering if people are even paying attention to this. I think some people are, and I think a lot of people are like, I don't know, just tell me what it is, and then I'll pay attention. We'll discuss the results of that on Game Miss Mornings on Giant Bomb tomorrow. Speaking of Giant Bomb, later today we will have Voicemail Dump Truck. On Friday, we will play Concord for UPF, and that's after Game Miss Mornings in the morning, of course. And then we'll have a BCR, quick one, where we'll talk about our thoughts about just playing Concord. So all of that will be happening later this week. Anything else we should mention? I might fit like a tiny weird stream into stuff today, but that would be off the cuff, so no promises. We'll see. There's lots of great stuff on the website. We played grab bag of just random games yesterday. That's up on the site now, up on YouTube. You can find all of our streams, as always, by going to youtube.com/@giantbomb and clicking the live tab. Most of our videos are under that live tab, so that's where you want to look. All right, Jason Fanelli, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Always like it, my friend. If you ever need me, I am here most of the time.
I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
Hog.
Fade to